The small human colony on the planet Epsilon 7 was quiet that morning. Pale orange sunlight touched the dusty ground. White buildings stood in neat rows. Tall communication antennas reached for the sky like silent guards. The air was still. Only a soft breeze moved the light dust across the plain. Most human colonists were awake early. For them, life on Epsilon 7 was not easy, but it was peaceful. People worked to improve the colony's systems. They repaired broken machines. They fixed solar collectors. They studied strange plants that grew near the outpost. They dreamed of making Epsilon 7 a place where future generations could live comfortably. At the center of the colony lived Dr. Alina Marsh. She was a xenobiologist, which means she studied life forms that humans did not know. Alina had not expected to find intelligent life in the galaxy, but she always believed it was possible. Every day she modeled ecosystems. Every day she stared at screens full of data from telescopes and space probes. She wanted answers. She wanted connection. On this calm morning, Alina was in the lab, examining microscopic algae from a nearby lake. The lake's water shimmered with tiny glowing organisms. The scientists did not yet know why they glowed. Alina thought there might be hidden patterns in the light. She looked at the microscope screen and frowned. Nothing useful appeared. Just as she moved to her chair, the colony's alarm system beeped softly. The beeps were unusual. Epsilon 7 rarely received signals from beyond its own systems. Usually, alerts meant something was breaking down, a power failure, a storm approaching, or malfunctioning sensors. But this time, the alert was different. It was coming from the outer perimeter of the colony. The message blinked on the lab screen in quiet green letters, unidentified signal received. Alina blinked. Her heart beat faster, not from fear but from excitement. She had been waiting for something like this. She moved quickly to a larger display screen. The lab filled with the soft hum of computers as the system tried to decode the signal. Moments later, the message changed, now showing new lines of text in a language the colony could not recognize. The shapes were unlike any known coding or symbolic system used by humans. It looked almost like music, long curves, rising loops, and gentle arcs. Alina touched the screen. "This is not just noise," she whispered. "This is communication." Before anyone else could respond, the colony's communication officer, Captain Lewis Reed, entered the lab. He was tall, serious, and always calm, but today his eyes were wide. "What's happening, Doctor?" he asked. Alina pointed at the screen. "We are receiving a signal. I think it's intentional." Captain Reed took a deep breath. "Do you think it's from another intelligent species?" Alina did not answer right away. She looked back at the changing shapes on the screen, her breath caught. There was something familiar in the patterns. Something almost like rhythm, almost like language. Before she could speak, the screen changed again. This time, the shapes rearranged into simple English letters. Alina and Captain Reed both stared in disbelief as a sentence appeared. "I came for you, human. Why haven't you reached out?" For a long moment, nobody spoke. The lab was silent except for the low hum of machines. Alina felt a chill. She knew this moment would change everything. Captain Reed finally spoke, his voice steady but quiet. "Is that message for you?" Alina swallowed hard. She could feel her palms growing warm. I don't know. But it says human, not humans. It feels directed." The message vanished. For a moment the screen went black. Then new text appeared, "Please respond." The words were simple. They felt personal. Captain Reed looked at Alina. "We need to form a response. But how?" Alina hesitated. Her mind was racing fast. She wondered why the message felt like it was meant for her. Did she imagine it? Was it some coincidence? But deep inside she felt a spark, a deep, hopeful feeling that this was not random. I think this is real," she said softly, "and we should reply." She stood up straight and reached out to the panel. Her fingers trembled slightly. She typed back, "Hello, who are you? For a long minute nothing happened. Then the screen blinked with a new sentence. "I am Calyx, I seek the one who called." Alina pulled back as if she had been touched. Her heart skipped a beat. The name Calyx was unknown. It sounded beautiful and strange. Captain Reed asked, "The one who called, that's you, right?" Alina paused before answering. At first she did not speak. Her mind was full of questions, but at that moment she felt a strange pull, not fear but certainty that something important was unfolding. "Yes," she finally said, "it must be me." Another message appeared. "You are expected. I will arrive." Alina could not believe her eyes. She and the captain watched the message for minutes that felt like hours. Then the screen went blank and the lab returned to normal lights and sounds. But nothing in the colony that day was normal again. The announcement. Captain Reed took Alina to the colony's main hall. Scientists, engineers, and workers gathered around large monitors. Rumors were spreading, and curiosity buzzed in the air like low electricity. When Reed appeared on the platform with Alina at his side, everyone fell silent. "People of Epsilon 7, he said, voice confident. "We have received an unidentified message from outside our known space. We are trying to understand it." The monitor behind them showed static, just waiting for a signal. Alina stepped forward, her voice calm but full of wonder. "I believe this message is from an intelligent being. It may be the first contact with another species in human history." Gasps and whispers filled the room. Some faces were bright with excitement. Others were filled with fear. A young engineer raised his hand. "How can we know it's real?" Alina smiled gently. "Because it spoke in English directly to us." Another person frowned. "Why English? Out here, we communicate in code protocols." Alina nodded slowly. "I think it chose a language with deep meaning. A language that the transmission could easily be understood." No one answered. They all watched as she continued. "We must proceed carefully. We do not know its intentions, but we should not ignore this. This could be the biggest moment in human history." The crowd was silent again. Some looked hopeful, some looked scared, some looked in disbelief, but all eyes were fixed on the monitor. Finally, Captain Reed spoke again. "We will open a secure communication channel. We will study every signal carefully. And we will respond only after we understand more." The room broke into quiet conversations. No one knew what would happen next, but something in the air felt important, almost like the moment before dawn. The signal returns. Back in the lab, Alina and Captain Reed waited beside the main console. Hours passed slowly. Screens flickered with attempts to read incoming data. Then the room darkened. Suddenly, all screens lit up with a fresh transmission. The message read, "I have not reached your world yet. I will arrive in one cycle." A cycle on Epsilon 7 was about 24 hours, one full day. The message continued, "Do not be afraid. I seek understanding. I will speak with the one who called." Alina felt as if the air around her was trembling. She did not know how to describe the feeling. It was like excitement, nervous wonder, and deep peace all at once. Captain Reed touched the screen gently. "One cycle, that means tomorrow." Alina nodded. Her heart was racing, but her face was calm. "We have to prepare." "Prepare how?" Reed asked quietly. She looked at him with steady eyes. "We prepare by being ready to listen." Night on Epsilon that night, the colony seemed alive in a different way. People spoke softly under the starlit sky. Many walked slowly toward the communal gardens. Some stood near windows, looking toward the horizon where no ship had ever been seen before. Alina walked outside alone. She felt the cool wind on her face. She thought of the message again and again. "I came for you, human." She wondered why it was her who had been called. She had spent years studying unknown life forms. She had wished to find something new, but this was beyond anything she had imagined. She felt wonder mixed with caution, and deep, deep hope. She stood still under the pink-tinged sky and whispered softly. The colony's antennas pointed toward the empty sky in silent waiting. Scientists checked instruments. Pilots walked in groups. Children stayed close to their families. Everyone sensed something big was about to happen. Alina stood beside Captain Reed at the observation deck. They watched the horizon, where the first light of dawn warmed the world with golden color. Then, far away, a tiny dot appeared against the brightening sky. It was distant at first, but moving steadily closer. Slowly it grew larger, shining brighter than any known craft humans had ever seen. A soft hum filled the atmosphere, a sound like harmony, not noise. Alina could hardly breathe. Captain Reed did not speak. They both watched in silent awe as the object, who they now sensed was living, drew nearer. And as the light of the alien vessel grew, every eye in the colony turned toward it. No one spoke. No one moved. All waited. And then a calm voice filled the communication system of Epsilon 7. It spoke in clear, warm English. The ship's size was vast, but its edges were smooth, almost liquid in form. It was as if the vessel itself were alive. Alina stood on the observation deck beside Captain Reed, her heart pounding in her chest. The hum of the ship filled the air, not loud but deep, like the vibration of the planet itself. Then, without warning, a bright light appeared in the sky. It was a bridge, a glowing path stretching from the alien ship to the colony's central plaza. It was safe to walk on, but it seemed impossible at first. The light did not move or waver, it simply waited. Alina swallowed hard. "It wants me to go," she whispered. Captain Reed placed a hand on her shoulder. "Be careful, we don't know what it wants exactly." Alina nodded. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. The light felt solid beneath her feet, like walking on air. As she moved, she could see the entire colony watching. Their faces were filled with hope, fear, and wonder. She waved briefly and then continued forward, the glow carrying her toward the ship. Inside the vessel, when she entered the ship, Alina gasped. She had expected cold metal, blinking lights, or complicated machines. Instead, the interior was fluid and warm. Walls shimmered like liquid glass and the floor was soft, almost like walking on a cloud. Light pulsed gently through every surface, casting shifting colors across the space. "Welcome, human," said a voice, clear, calm, and kind. It came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Alina looked around. "Calyx?" she asked softly. "Yes," the voice replied. "I am Calyx. I have waited long to meet the one who reached out." Alina felt a shiver of excitement. She had dreamed of first contact, and here it was. But this was more incredible than anything she could imagine. Calyx appeared in a form she could understand. A humanoid figure, tall and graceful, with glowing patterns across its skin that shifted like sunlight on water. Its eyes were deep pools of light, calm and intelligent. "You may call me Calyx," it said. "I did not come here to harm you, I came to understand." Alina nodded, finding her voice. "Understand me, or humanity?" "Both," Calyx said. "To understand you is to understand the future you may create." The challenge. Calyx guided Alina through the ship. They moved along corridors that twisted in impossible directions. Sometimes gravity felt normal. Sometimes it shifted, and Alina had to step sideways or upside down. It was disorienting, but Calyx's presence made her feel safe. Finally, they arrived in a large chamber. The room was circular, and in the center was a glowing sphere that pulsed like a heartbeat. "This is the Chamber of Knowledge," Calyx explained. "Here you will face tests, not of strength but of mind, heart, and spirit. Only by passing these can you show why humanity is worthy of trust and friendship." Alina hesitated. "Tests?" "Yes," said Calyx. "Every species is different. Every species has strengths and weaknesses. I have observed humans for a long time. Now I need to see your qualities firsthand." The chamber pulsed, and suddenly Alina found herself surrounded by images. They were not solid, but illusions that felt real. She saw a burning forest. Animals ran in panic, trapped and terrified. In another image, she saw people arguing, misunderstanding one another, their words harsh and cruel. "You must solve these problems," Calyx said. Not with force, but with understanding. Use your mind. Use your heart. Alina felt panic at first. How could she possibly change these impossible situations? But then she remembered the reason she became a scientist, to find solutions where others could not. She took a deep breath and approached the first illusion, reaching for the glowing energy that represented the burning forest. She felt ideas forming, solutions she had learned from her studies. How to move creatures safely, how to calm their panic, how to stop the fire from spreading too quickly. Slowly, she guided the illusion to balance and peace. Calyx's voice echoed softly. Good. You see solutions where others see only chaos. This is uniquely human. The second trial, the next illusion, was different. Alina was in a crowded human city. People were shouting, arguing, and running in confusion. She could feel their fear and anger. You must calm them, Calyx said. Alina hesitated. She could not physically stop them. But then she remembered her studies in communication, psychology, and problem-solving. She focused, imagining solutions that could reach each person. She thought of empathy, of understanding, of words and gestures that could calm panic. Suddenly, the illusion shifted. The people paused, they listened, they helped one another, conflicts faded. Alina felt a thrill of accomplishment. You see, Calyx said, humans are not strongest in battle but in thought, empathy, and adaptability. You are uniquely capable of cooperation and understanding. Alina smiled, feeling pride mixed with awe. She had never imagined that her small human skills could impress a being like Calyx. The third test, the final trial, was the most personal. Alina was alone in the chamber. The sphere of light pulsed faster. Then she heard Calyx's voice. You must answer a question honestly. This is the test of self. A glowing image appeared in front of her. It was herself, but older, wiser, and full of experiences she had not yet lived. Who are you? Calyx asked. And what will you do with the knowledge you gain? Alina looked at her older self. She felt fear and hope together. She realized that the future was not fixed. Humanity could create its own destiny. She took a deep breath. I am Alina Marsh, she said. I want to learn, to understand, and to help humanity grow. I will use knowledge not for power but for peace and progress. I will guide humans to be better and to reach out to others in the universe with respect. The sphere glowed brighter. The illusions faded. Alina felt warmth and calm surround her. You have passed, Calyx said. You see not only the world but your place within it. You understand the responsibility that comes with knowledge. You are ready to return and to prepare your species for what lies ahead. A lesson learned. Alina walked with Calyx to a large observation window. Below, Epsilon 7 looked peaceful, almost like a small jewel against the stars. You will go back to your colony, Calyx said. Share what you have learned. Teach your people not to fear the unknown but to seek it with curiosity, intelligence, and empathy. Alina nodded. And you will remain here, Calyx's form shimmered. I will watch, guide when needed, but I do not interfere directly. You and your people must grow on your own. You have the potential to do great things if you choose the right path. Alina felt a deep sense of responsibility. She understood that the tests had not just been for her but for all humans. I understand, she said softly. Good, Calyx replied. Remember, the galaxy is vast, but humans have something unique. You are not the strongest, but your minds, hearts, and cooperation can shape worlds. Returned to the colony, the glowing bridge reappeared. Alina stepped onto it, her mind full of ideas, emotions, and determination. When she returned to the colony, everyone watched her closely. They could sense something had changed. She had changed. Alina addressed the people gathered. I have seen the future, she said. I have met a being who has watched us, and now I understand our place in the galaxy. Humans have great potential not in weapons but in intelligence, empathy, and courage. We can be a species that others respect and admire, but we must choose to grow wisely. The colony listened in silence. Hope and excitement filled the air. Captain Reed stepped forward. "This is only the beginning," he said. "We will learn, prepare, and ensure our species is ready for the universe." Alina smiled. "Yes, and together we will reach for the stars not just with machines but with our minds and hearts." A new dawn. That night, Alina walked alone to the observation deck. Above, the stars glittered like diamonds. She could feel Calyx watching from afar, silently guiding but not interfering. For the first time, she realized that humanity's greatest strength was not in what they could build, but in what they could imagine and understand. She whispered softly to the stars, "We are ready, and we will not fail." The wind carried her words, and for a brief moment the universe seemed to listen. And somewhere in the quiet vastness of space, Calyx's voice echoed softly. "The journey is just beginning." The sun rose slowly over Epsilon 7, casting golden light across the colony, but the day felt different. People walked with purpose. Machines hummed more smoothly. Children laughed freely in the gardens. Everyone knew something had changed, though none could say exactly what. Alina stood at the observation deck, watching the horizon. Far above, the alien ship remained, a constant shimmer in the sky. She could feel Calyx's presence, calm and steady. It did not interfere. It simply waited, watching humanity begin a new journey. Alina had spent the past cycle sharing what she had learned aboard the vessel. The chamber tests had shown her that humans were not just capable of survival, they were capable of growth, creativity, and understanding. And now, it was her mission to help humanity take the first step toward its place in the galaxy. Spreading the knowledge, Alina called a council of the colony's leaders, engineers, scientists, and teachers. She explained everything she had experienced aboard the ship. She described the tests and what they had revealed about humans. "The galaxy is vast," she said. "Other species are out there and some of them watch us, but we are not weak. We are clever. We are adaptable. We have the power to grow not through force but through understanding, cooperation, and empathy." Some leaders were skeptical. "How can we trust a being we cannot fully see?" one engineer asked. "What if it is trying to trick us?" Alina smiled gently. "Trust is earned, not given blindly. But we cannot let fear stop us from learning. We must grow, step by step, and show the galaxy who we truly are." The council debated for hours. Plans were drawn to educate every colonist about cooperation, problem-solving, and exploration. Children were taught not just science and mathematics, but philosophy and empathy. Every project in the colony was restructured to emphasize understanding over speed, collaboration over competition. For the first time, humanity on Epsilon 7 felt united. The alien presence above was no longer intimidating. It was a silent mentor, guiding without words. The first outreach weeks passed. Alina and Captain Reed had prepared a careful plan. Using the colony's communication network, they sent a message to nearby star systems. The message was simple: "We are human, we seek understanding, we wish to meet and learn peacefully." Alina watched the monitors anxiously. The universe was silent at first. Days passed. No replies came. Some colonists began to lose hope. But then a response arrived, not in words but in light. Strange patterns shimmered across the screens, moving in harmony. It was a language of shapes and colors, elegant and precise. Alina recognized it instantly, the same kind of communication she had seen from Calyx. Calyx's voice filled the room softly, though no one knew exactly how. "This is the beginning. You have reached out and now others will respond in time." The colony celebrated quietly. It was not a victory of weapons or conquest. It was a victory of curiosity, patience, and courage. Visitors from afar within months, small ships began arriving near Epsilon 7. They were unlike human designs, smooth, flowing, and luminous. The first visitors were cautious, observing from a distance. But Alina and the colony's representatives sent calm signals of welcome. The aliens came closer, and slowly they began to interact. Their forms were strange, some translucent, some floating, some with shapes humans had never imagined. But they spoke with gestures, lights, and symbols. Alina helped translate their signals into something humans could understand. Through these interactions, humans learned quickly. They learned how other species traveled, how they thought, and how they communicated. And in return, humans shared their own knowledge, agriculture, problem-solving techniques, and the idea of cooperation. Calyx appeared only occasionally, glowing faintly near the ships. It did not speak directly to the other species, but its presence reassured Alina and the colony that humanity's first steps into the galaxy were guided. A growing reputation. As word of humanity's actions spread, other colonies and outposts began to notice. Humans were different. They did not arrive with weapons. They did not try to dominate. Instead, they offered solutions, helped repair broken systems, and mediated small disputes. Alina realized something important. Humanity's strength was not in sheer force, but in creativity, empathy, and adaptability. Other species were starting to respect humans, not for their power but for their potential. One day, while observing the sky, Alina said to Captain Reed, "We are being noticed. The galaxy is watching us not to attack but to understand what we can offer." Reed nodded. "It is a new kind of strength, one that we must protect carefully." Alina smiled. "Yes. And it is exactly what Calyx wanted us to see." Challenges along the way. Not everything was easy. Some humans feared the newcomers. Some still wanted weapons to protect themselves from imagined threats. Some aliens were wary, distrustful of humans' intentions. Alina spent long nights negotiating, explaining, and teaching. She reminded humans of what they had learned aboard Calyx's ship, that solutions required intelligence, patience, and empathy. She reminded aliens that humans were new, curious, and willing to learn. Slowly, trust began to grow. Small joint projects started. Humans helped repair alien habitats. Aliens shared knowledge about advanced energy systems. A small council was formed, including representatives of humans and alien species. For the first time, Alina felt the sense of unity she had imagined during her tests aboard Calyx's ship. Humanity was no longer isolated. They were becoming part of a larger community, one that could share, learn, and grow together. The test of leadership. One evening, as Alina walked alone near the communication towers, Calyx appeared beside her. Its light shimmered gently. "You have done well," Calyx said, "but there is still one test left, not for you personally, but for your species." Alina turned. "A test?" "Yes," Calyx replied. "The galaxy is vast and not every being is friendly. Some will challenge you. Your people must decide. Will they use their potential for wisdom and cooperation, or will they fall into fear and aggression?" Alina nodded slowly. She understood. The challenges humans faced were not just physical or technological. They were moral, social, and emotional. She realized her role was not to lead forever, but to guide humanity until they could choose their own path wisely. "I understand," she said softly. "Then continue," Calyx said, fading gently into light. "And remember, humans are unique. They can grow beyond what even I foresaw. Your species has a choice. Make it carefully." A galactic celebration months later, the first joint festival was held on Epsilon 7. Humans and aliens celebrated together. Music, lights, and laughter filled the air. The sky above shimmered with alien patterns. The colony's children ran freely, learning from alien visitors and teaching them games from Earth. Alina stood at the edge of the festival, watching. She felt pride, joy, and hope. Humanity had taken its first steps into a much larger universe, not as conquerors but as learners, helpers, and friends. Captain Reed approached. "You did more than prepare your species," he said. "You inspired them." Alina smiled. "We all did." Humanity is learning, not alone, but with guidance, and with the chance to grow into something greater than we imagined. A message from the stars that night. As the festival lights faded, the alien ship shimmered above Epsilon 7. The calm, familiar voice of Calyx spoke softly through the communication system. You have done well, humans. You have chosen understanding over fear, growth over destruction. The galaxy is vast, but now it knows you are here and that you can choose wisely. Continue to learn, continue to teach, and continue to grow. The journey is only beginning. Alina looked up at the stars. She felt the weight of responsibility, but also a deep sense of hope. Humanity had passed its first tests. The future was uncertain, but it was theirs to shape. She whispered to the sky, "We are ready." And somewhere in the endless galaxy, Calyx's light shimmered, quiet but proud, knowing that humanity's dawn had begun. The dawn of humanity. In the months and years that followed, humans expanded carefully. Colonies reached out to distant planets. Communication networks connected far-off systems. Humanity became known not for war or domination, but for creativity, empathy, and courage. Alina continued to teach and guide, but she knew her greatest lesson had already been learned. Humanity's true strength was not in power, but in intelligence, understanding, and the choice to act with wisdom. The stars above Epsilon 7 were no longer distant. They were a promise that humans could belong, grow, and shine. And in the quiet of space, Calyx watched, knowing that humanity had begun its journey not with fear, but with hope.